Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, um, somehow I was thinking of that song "Landslide" by Fleetwood Mac because, in a way, that song gets played on one of those type of moments when you're like pondering your life choices and whatnot. You know, I remember at one point, um, the song was playing on the radio when we're driving up to Portland, once we had finally hit the Eugene stations and Portland stations at that point. It was probably like one of those stations that was like, and where it was like there at Eugene and Kaiser, where it was playing that song. And there was this sort of this power station, I think it was like, it might have been a gas one or a electric, hydroelectric or whatever it was, and it was bellowing out like this steam or smoke, you know, at one point. And this was back around like, you know, fall of '07, you know. And it was right when I first started doing the vlogs at this point. But it was also right at the same time when, Dad had finally had backed off about Ricky, all because you know, he had a hard time accepting I'm not a kid anymore. And I'm going to make my own decisions about that. And all because I didn't let Dad know ahead of time that I was going to meet Ricky in person and all this, and how parents are, blah blah blah. But I just didn't like the way Dad was going at it, you know. And that was the thing there, you know. So, considering all of that, that was all the other stuff there. But I think at that time, I was like already like 26. And so it was like me heading into my upper 20s, and that was just one of those little things, you know. And yet, I was thinking about, what's going to happen as far as everything else at this point, you know. I mean, here it is. It's been like 5 years since the pandemic and all. But then I think it's just me going through like this sort of, I guess, midlife crisis or whatever you would call it at that point, because now it's like, in a couple more months I'm going to be 44, and then in 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, and all these other little things, that what I'm going to be doing as far as in 5 years from now. And then most likely I'm not going to be living in this house anymore. A place that I called home for most of my life. And that's just something that's a bit hard for me to deal with. Except for those 2 years when I was living in the apartment in Irving. And that was about like 20 years ago. But still, I think I have to at least just look into myself as far as what else I wanted to do. And I think it was something like when it came to my love life at that point, and I have all the choices out there in front of me, when it came to like, this guy or that guy or whatever, and I realized it's like, I can be happy with any of them at that point, you know. And just because it's like that person isn't really available or isn't really wanting me right now, doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the case forever, you know. Because how many times I had thought that, you know, Ricky wasn't going to come back because of whatever things that happened at the time, and then lo and behold, Ricky came back, you know, so many different times. But, you know, it's like later on in the year, it's going to be like 20 years since I've known Ricky, but never really known him a whole lot, you know. But that was just my fault, for that matter, and it's always going to be my fault. If I had been a little bit more assertive to tell Dad to fuck off about Ricky, you know, or to tell, you know, you want to leave me the fuck alone, you had your chance, go away. Or to tell that guy Matt, you know, I'm totally not fucking interested in you, go away, you know, leave me alone. You know, but it was one of the things, again, where it felt like a lot of people had taken advantage of the fact that I wasn't really that assertive enough, you know. And especially when it came to people who wanted me to be more assertive, but only to their own benefit. You know, whether it was my dad or my mom or any of these slew of psychologists, psychiatrists, or teachers, paras, or whatever it was they called themselves at the time. You know. And it was one of those little things that happened when I was really depressed that year, when I was like 16 or 17. And where I felt like I just maybe it would be happier if I just become nothing more than a human programmable robot devoid of any individuality or thoughts, opinions, as far as that goes, because how much it upset me for certain people to not allow me to be me, you know. And that was like the thing. But I feel like I have all the choices about what I want to do in my life from now until my dying day and all of that. Yeah. But I feel like I have to kind of focus on like what makes me happy. And I think about a lot of things make me happy. You know, whether if it's just hanging around with my family or going on the internet, watching cat videos, watching, you know what, and all that. You know, or other guys as far as that goes, you know. Whether if it's like, you know, going down to like, you know, Dan and Dave's place and hooking up with them, you know, and or some other guy that I kind of like enough to maybe want something, you know, but, you know. I have to kind of go back to being, you know, me again, to be more optimistic about things, you know, in spite of everything else that's happening, you know. And it's like, what is the case here with Trump, you know? So what if, like, Trump's there, you know, he's not going to run for another, he's not going to run again in 2028, he's too old for that, and then maybe the Democrats will get their act together, maybe, you know, Republicans will ditch the whole neocon thing or whatever it is, you know, and all these other things, you know, have all those things here to kind of, you know, not to care about so much. And it's kind of like the whole thing when it came to my manifestation journey of that sort, when I talk about, you know, other things there. But still have a lot to go, you know. Miles before I have miles before I sleep, or whatever that was. That song. I mean, it wasn't a song. It was a poem. You know, miles to go before I sleep. You know, and then it's like the book of my life is not even halfway finished. You know, it's just begun at this point. You know, whatever the next chapters of my life are, you know, is something. You know. So, anyways, I guess that's probably it. So, talk to you guys later.